And opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in a Riv.
After a very long weekend.
Very long weekend. Seems like we were on vacation.
Yep, and today's Cyber Monday. So for all you people sitting in work, tapping on your computer keys, buying your Christmas gifts, be careful, the boss is watching.
And not only that, you're not going to get them by Christmas the way things are going anyway.
The way things are going, true.
So don't worry about it. Everything's kind of sparse. Even the markets are beginning to start showing the wear here. Mm-hmm. Can't find a lot of things. But, I guess it was a big shootout in Seekonk.
Yep.
So at least that wasn't Fall River for a change.
For a change, yeah.
For a change, it wasn't Fall River. And, I guess they found according to what I saw this morning on the news, they found the perpetrator, the suspect, or whatever you want to refer to him as. They found him dead in his vehicle.
You're right.
And they haven't determined whether he shot himself or the police officers.
Or if somebody shot him, correct.
They should be able to get it. They said on the news he had an AK-47, so that's, they use NATO rounds in that thing. That's 7.6.
And they made sure they said a Russian-style AK-47.
There's only one style AK-47. It's actually it's a Kalashnikov. It's a Russian weapon.
Yep.
Probably one of the most reliable, if not the most reliable, weapons ever created. They've been using those things since the late 40s. They used them through all of Vietnam and
Time tested, huh?
Time tested, extremely durable, heavy, kind of heavy to carry because the old ones had wooden stocks, but very, very reliable weapon, and it is classified as an assault weapon. But yeah, well, I guess he held up something and then
he broke into
opened fire on the police officers. It's too bad. I mean, it's beginning to get here. It's beginning to work its way over from the coasts and stuff, the smash and grabs, everything. The symbols of a decaying society are beginning to come here, but of course, the wokies will deny it to the bitter end. I mean, we've even got Elizabeth Warren blaming the poultry industry for the inflation. Now it's them. They're making billions of dollars with this increase. It's not the fact that you can't get the things delivered. The fact that you printed so much money that you devalued the dollar. Well, Elizabeth, you've been in Congress too long. What little gray matter you had residing up there in your cranium has probably turned to tapioca pudding. But the reality is, go check out Nazi Germany basically 100 years ago, from 1920 to 1921, when they printed so many Deutschmarks that you had to bring a wheelbarrow full of cash to buy a loaf of bread. So for all you wokies out there in this wokie land that we live in on the coasts, that's not what causes inflation. Branding caused inflation.
Well, and, the interesting thing is that when you look at countries like Germany and what they went through, and the amount of money that the amount of printed money they had to have to buy a loaf of bread or a gallon of milk or a quart of milk, because back then they didn't sell milk in gallon containers. They were little quart containers or half-gallon containers that were glass with the pogs. And yet the United States is doing that, and we're still financing foreign countries. We're not even financing what we need in our own country, but we'll give $10 billion to Israel and $15 billion to,
Yeah, well, we even give them billions and millions and to study, transgender identities in foreign countries. I mean, we just look for an excuse to pay these people off And that's the way politics is. But, hopefully we're seeing a pendulum swinging. I mean, the country is being destroyed. I mean, there's flash mobs in San Francisco destroying everything in all over California. They're breaking in. They're breaking into Home Depot. They don't even want to bring their own crowbars.
I know.
So now they're going to break in to Home Depot and steal the equipment, the sledgehammers and crowbars to break into these stores, and they're breaking into jewelry. It's just, and it's the mom and pops. It's the small businesses that are being destroyed.
Right.
I forgot which major. It might have been. I don't want to say the wrong thing because we'll be held accountable. But one of the companies actually is spending $30,000 a month now on security, so they can keep their store open. But see, mom and pop stores, individual businesses can't afford that. You can't afford that. The fact that we have these savages, these animals, subhumans, running around just taking things is bad enough. But then when we have a segment trying to justify it, that's even worse, because this is like the Roman Empire decaying from within.
And we're seeing this on a progressive stage. When the race riots, and I hate using that term, but there's nothing else I could call them. When the race riots started in this country last year over the deaths of Breonna Taylor, and the Black Lives Matter movement started, and QAnon and all these things started, it created a reason for people, not like they needed one, to turn around and
Your turn this week.
Yeah, I'm heard this week. And to turn around and start breaking and entering, stealing things from people. And it just keeps going on. And now they don't even need a reason anymore. They just do it. We've gone, and as you said, the decay of our society. It's not stopping. And it's got to stop somewhere. And the police don't want to charge in on anyone because they've been told not to arrest and not to prosecute. You have district attorneys and U.S. attorney candidates who will not prosecute for burglary, who will not prosecute for assault. Well, what good is that? That's the decay of society.
No, you're right. And listen, you can't justify this. This is the problem. This is what bothers me so much about we've lost all sense of logic. You can't justify these actions. It's criminal. You can't try to make up an excuse that it's retail reparations they can afford. It's people's personal property. They're businesses that employ people. You can't just run around like a savage. This is roaming bands. This is like the cave era. And I began writing a piece yesterday about this, and it's funny because I started it off with a quote, and this is Abraham Lincoln. So it was a long time ago because Abe was around. It was a few centuries ago. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. And that's what we're doing right now. And we're being aided by those cretins that we have in Congress, the people that try to justify everything. And they call everybody a white supremacist or a racist, when in fact they are the supremacists, they are the elitists, not the white supremacists, and they are the racists, because they're the people that basically make everything about race. And by doing that, they're the racists. They want equality. No, they want equity. We want equity? Well, let me see the case of this guy who killed 6 people, including a young 8-year-old, I believe it was, and injured between 40 and 50 people, some of whom are in the hospital still clinging to life by running them down with an SUV. Let me see one of the left-wing media outlets post his criminal record that goes back to 1999. Are they going to talk about the fact that on his computer he had Black Lives Matter and anti-white? Is he a black supremacist? We don't hear that term anymore. Remember back in the old days of the Black Muslim movement, the Black Panther movement, they called them black militants. But now you can't say anything because the only color that has to be pointed out is white. Nobody's talking about this guy. And you know something? It shouldn't be about his color. I'm just using that to show, to draw a comparison about what's going on. That crime was a heinous crime committed by a human being on other human beings. It shouldn't be about color. They are dividing us. That's actually the name of the beginning of my piece. It's united we will stand, divided we will fall. And they are trying to divide us along racial lines rather than looking at something as a human being and saying, this is wrong. People should not be breaking in, looting stores, shooting people on the streets. They should not be doing this regardless. It should not be about color because that's BS. That's the way they get power. They divide us by putting labels on us. We should not respond to those labels because the fact is if you go to Africa, you'll see the majority of the black population, there are strifes in African countries. There are genocides in African countries where blacks are killing blacks. We see what's happening in Chicago. We see what happens in China. And we see what happens all over the world. So it's not about color. It's about the human condition. As Gandhi said, a society can be judged by the way it treats its animals, its children, and its elderly. And we fundamentally crap all over all of those groups. And this is about division, people. It's not about politics. It's about division. They want you to believe the label, and it's not a blue light special at Kmart. I can tell you right now.
And who did that?
They are trying to. Who did that?
Who did that dividing the best in history? Who did that dividing the best?
Adolf.
Nazi Germany.
Adolf.
Yep, Nazi Germany.
The cartoons of the Jews with the large noses and the caricatures and all the things about the Jews.
And it wasn't only about the Jews.
Oh, no.
It was about...
No, but that's what we hear because they killed the most Jews.
Right, they killed the most Jews. But
remember what Nehemiah said. You know, when they came for the labor unions, you know, I didn't say nothing because I was when they came for the Catholics, I said nothing because I wasn't a Catholic. When they came for the Jews, I said nothing. And when they came for me, there was no one left to speak.
That's right.
Go to Boston, go to Faneuil Hall, take a little, get to the bottom, walk down to Congress Street, take a right, walk about 100 steps, and you'll see the Holocaust monuments. And Nehemiah's quote is carved on one of those. Next time you're in Boston, take time to go and look at that monument and read it, because apparently we never learned from history. We saw what they did in Nazi Germany, as you said. They dehumanized an entire ethnic group. They took the Jews and they took everybody else. And as a matter of fact, as you said, most people only think this is about the Jews. But remember, Hitler felt the only people that were human were Germans, the Aryan race.
That's right.
So that's their tactic. Dehumanize people, make them of lesser value, and divide people. So you know something? Yeah, when you got people like Elizabeth Warren, who's a millionaire, whining about the poultry industry making money and blame, I'm calling for an investigation of this, like they caused inflation. Not our buddy Brandon in the White House. But you know, it's beginning. It's out of control, and it's only out of control in certain places. Do you notice where it's happening? It's happening in blue states with these prosecutors that are letting people out like that. That savage that ran down women and children, elderly people and children. Where's Gandhi now, spinning around in his grave? Because, as he said, how did he treat children and the elderly? He ran them down with his SUV and a criminal record that dates back to 1999 of all felony charges. This is unacceptable. It's time for the people in this country to do what they did in Virginia, to do what they did in New Jersey, and begin to take back our government. Remember what the Declaration of Independence says: when a government fails to work for you, you have to replace it. It's time for us to put different people in these offices and stop listening to their crap, because labels are just that. Look at somebody as a human being. Look at somebody like Martin Luther King did and do what he said. Judge these people on the content of their character, not the color of their skin. And I don't care what color that guy who ran down those people was. He was a scumbag.
I think he was fuchsia.
Yeah. Just as though, and if you try to con and say this is a big conspiracy, no. They convicted the 3 white men who killed the black man.
That's right, they did.
Because they went on the evidence. So it wasn't about color. They
tried to make it.
They tried to make it about color, and it probably, they're saying they were motivated by color, but that just goes to show what happens when we divide people and try to judge them by their racist views, because they're the racists.
Well, and you saw that in the Rittenhouse case.
Yep.
Okay? He was found not guilty on all charges because they believed it was self-defense. And the videos showed it was self-defense. So they ruled on the evidence like it should be done. They didn't look at the color of his skin. They didn't look at his financial background. They didn't look at his age. They said, this is the evidence. This is the way it looks. Boom, he's not guilty because of self-defense. Then they looked at the Aubrey trial. And they said, these guys went after him, shot him in the back. There was no self-defense. They weren't trying to make a citizen's arrest. The evidence shows that you're guilty. You're guilty.
Yeah.
Again, no race, no creed, no color, no national origin, none of that. None of that did. No organization membership, none of that came into play. What came into play was the evidence. The evidence. And that is what it should be based on.
You're right, but let's just look at what's continuing. There are people on Democratic
MSNBC?
Committee and the Constipated News Network. I borrowed that from from a conservative. But the Constipated News Network, there are people still saying that Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist murderer, even though he has been exonerated, because they don't care. Yet that same host and those same hosts on these channels, now there's a movement to, like Arizona State, they don't want him there because he's a white supremacist murderer. Because the fact that he was found not guilty doesn't matter to these people. I challenge that individual on the Constipated News Networks and MSDC, the Democratic Committee, those talking heads. I won't complain as much as if tonight on your media you talk to me and tell me that you're condemning that black individual who killed 6 people and then injured 40 to 50 people. Condemn him. Call him a black supremacist and a murderer, because that's what he is. But then you'll be doing exactly what you want us to do. Judge people by the color of their skin. And you won't do that because you're the racists. You want to keep this narrative going because it suits your power grab. You want to stay in power and you want to divide people, so we fight each other rather than fighting you.
I was going to say, this is a continuous political campaign.
Yeah.
People need to look at it that way.
That's right.
This is a political campaign, a continuous political campaign. Even though they're not in election mode yet, they've still been running through it. All this past year, they weren't in election mode. The year before, they weren't in election mode, and they kept running with this. Mm-hmm. And now they're going into election mode for the midterms, and they're still going with it. This is showing you that they are looking to divide and conquer.
Yeah.
And once they do that, once they've divided this country into components, I want to call them components, which is black, white, red, yellow, green, purple, whatever the case may be. Once they divide them into components, then you're never going to be able to create unity.
Yeah, of course.
And without the unity, there is no way to get political power. And as long as they maintain the political power they currently have, they can't worry about them getting any political power. Just like they did here in Fall River and New Bedford. They didn't want to put us together in one congressional district. Why? Because if they did that, they would give us political power.
That's right.
A tremendous amount of political power. And we could have elected anyone we wanted for Congress, but they didn't want that.
No, they want their Newton boys to keep staying in office and Cape boys.
That's right.
All the Richies. They want all the Richie Riches to stay in office. But as you said before, the main perpetrators of this are the same thing that Hitler used. He controlled the narrative, the media. They had posters, they had, videos now, it was films. They used every propaganda tool they could to separate people by religion, by race, by everything.
And they did it effectively.
And he did it extremely effectively. He's the most effective, he created the blueprint. But this is the problem. Wake up, people. Go back in time, study your history. Remember what Teddy Roosevelt, get on your Google and Google Teddy Roosevelt's speech on there's no such thing as a hyphenated American. He talked about how we should all come together as Americans, not by color, not by ethnicity, not by anything except the fact we're Americans. Remember, this country became a country when everybody, all the various religious groups that came here to escape persecution, all the people that came to this country to create a new life, banded together for one cause. Together, not dividing themselves by their religions, but banding together to create a country that would be free. We could be free in. So this is the problem. And remember, only we can fix this. But if you stay apathetic and you don't pay attention, and it should inflame you, it should enrage you to hear somebody like Elizabeth Warren, the fake Indian, talking, and a multimillionaire, by the way, talking about how it's the poultry industry that's creating the inflation. Well, I guess they use chickens to make gasoline, too, because there's inflation in gasoline,
yes,
too,
there is.
right?
Yeah.
So, but this is outrageous. But, hey, this has been an extremely good discussion because we get down to, as Camilla or whatever the hell she's pronouncing it as today, we're getting down to the root cause. The root cause is they're attempting to divide us. But let's get quickly, over the holiday, we had a piece of fire apparatus closing.
Yes, we did. And we spoke about it on Wednesday's show, if you remember correctly.
We spoke about it, and
I
it came to
received phone
fruition.
calls.
Yep.
I received a phone call from a viewer who said I was a liar. Who said, the mayor would never do that. And I said, well, we'll have to wait and see. And when it came on Channel 10 that apparatus had been closed, which was ladder 4.
I have a picture.
I have a picture too of the ladder with a sign in front of it said equipment closed. I called him back and I said, hi, it's CJ. Yeah, I said, I guess I was right, huh? It's on Channel 10. Oh, yeah, you're smug. Don't be smug to me about this. I said, oh, I was a liar before, now I'm smug.
Well, you can't win because they're haters.
Right.
They're haters.
And I don't care about that. I don't care about that. But the thing is, I don't like the fact that people impugn our integrity. And that is not acceptable. If you want to disagree with us and you don't want to have the same opinion, I have no problem with that. I'm always out for a good debate, just like you are. Always out for a good debate. Always out for a good debate. Stay civil, we're fine.
Absolutely.
But this is the point, and I got an email over the weekend because I put it in the weekend flush. I got a weekend, I opened it this morning, I got that email over the weekend, and it said, when are we going to see hashtag I told you so, Coogan? Because I've never seen a mayor so disconnected from the day-to-day operations of the city. And he's disconnected from the operations of the city.
He was disconnected from everything, even when he was in the school department.
Even beforehand, correct.
But to the apparatus, now this has been a bane of my existence forever. Let's make this perfectly clear. The mayor wouldn't do it. The mayor would absolutely do it, because I'm going to tell you something about the apparatus closings. There are 13 firefighter vacancies funded in this budget that started on July 1. They will not be hired till February 1st. And let me tell you something about the real motivation. While the current chief is down in Florida sunning his toenails, and he's retiring either this month, next month, or the month after, he doesn't care about public safety, and neither do these politicians. Let me explain something. They were never going to use that extra money they're generating, and there's literally over $500,000 minimum. I'll do the numbers. I'll have them at the next show. 13 positions, base salary, holiday pays, all the benefits, and the city's 75% share of the health care for 13 people. Get your little calculators out and multiply all those numbers. You can do it. Their contract's public record. Go on there, get the contract, look at their base salaries, look at their longevities, look at everything else, see what an entry-level firefighter gets, and then factor in the health care, which is a huge piece. And I'm going to tell you something in case you haven't figured it out yet. Mary Sahadi has counted every single one of those pennies. And they're going to plug that money that was earmarked for public safety into plugging holes that Paul Coogan created in his budget. They are not going to use it for public safety. If he cared about public safety, if the chief cared about public safety, they would have kept that piece open, because they've got the money to do it. But they got that money earmarked to plug up other holes. And they do this every year, and I was fighting about it 20 years ago, about keeping money and keeping positions unfilled so they could use the money as free cash later. And that's exactly what they're going to do. That's exactly what they're going to do. They got every single dime, and it's outrageous. And the president of the union, who was also a politician, you should never be a politician and a union head. That's my opinion, and you can disagree, and apparently he does. This is why. I saw him on TV. Well, they chose not to do it. Well, you know something? You should have hammered them about the 13 unfilled positions and all the money they had, because I would have. Because this is outrageous. You shut a piece down when you got that kind of money in the bank? You know why? Because they don't really care about public safety. Wake up, people. They only say that during elections. And if they really cared, that truck wouldn't have been shut down.
I agree with you. I agree. And, I want you to go to Channel 10 and review that video. Finally, I want to reach out to the Martin's family. Joe Martin passed away. His wake is tonight between 5 and 8 p.m. at the Sylvia Farrier Funeral Home on Bedford Street. Joe served as superintendent director of Diamond for over 10 years, and he served as a school committee member in Fall River for the same amount of time. Joe, you will be greatly missed.
Yes,
I want to thank you all for watching. Remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.
Rest in peace.